Hello my friends, and thank you for joining me once again. I'm getting quite prolific lately, as you might have noticed. Before the silver age of comic books, when that reintroduced the superheroes at the end of the 1950s, there was the golden age, of course. Golden age spanned roughly late 30s to late 50s, and one company that was very popular during this period were EC Comics, or Entertaining Comics, to give them their full name. They began in 1940, I think it was, by a chap called Max Gaines. When he died in a boating accident in 1947, his son William Gaines took over, and he began to publish a very, very important and well-received series of books. Started with horror titles, was followed with science fiction titles, which are the ones I'm going to show you today. And these carried on until 1955. Now his books, especially his horror books, had always laboured under the opinion of a lot of members of the public that the books were no good for children. Were just too horrific for children to absorb. And finally, in 1955, there was a chap called Frederick Wertham who produced a book called The Seduction of the Innocent, which brought a great backlash and virtually were the final nails in the coffin for EC Comics. They did, although they had to shut down all of their major publications, they did continue with Mad Magazine, with which they've probably become synonymous over the years. So that's a brief potted history of EC Comics. And today I'm going to show you some very nice quality reprints that came out in the early 70s. They were published in hardback form, very, very high quality hardbacks in very high quality slipcases by a publisher called Russ Cochran. And he actually published the entirety of EC's output during the early 50s period. So without any further ado, we'll get on to having a look at these comics. Now these excuse me, these were all published in full colour at the time, but the reprints are in black and white, which doesn't take anything away from the quality, because you can actually see the lines, the pencil lines, and the inkwork that went into the production of these comics. Because very often, once they're coloured, things start to wash out a bit, and you can't see the quality of the draftsmanship, if you like. So yeah, I like them in black and white personally, but everybody to their own. The first set we're going to have a look at are these. They're a bit unwieldy, unfortunately. They're very big. I'll move back a bit. It is Weird Fantasy. Now these, as I say, came in a very nice, sturdy slipcase. Again, very high quality. Grubby on the top, got a bit dusty, but they all came in those excellent slipcases. And the early Weird Fantasy, I think, started in 1950, following on from the horror titles. And one of the mainstays of the earlier issues was a chap called Al Feldstein. Now, his artwork wasn't so popular because he had a very heavy, dark style of inking, as you can see there on the splash page. And he wasn't as well received as some of the later work by such great artists as Wally Wood, Al Williamson, Frank Frazetta, latterly. But you know the stories all looked looked very nice in black and white. Now, as I say, he did an awful lot of the earlier books, along with some other artists. A lot of them uncredited, because unless they signed the splash page, you didn't really know who they were. Whereas Williamson and Wood always signed theirs. Ironically, you didn't really need the signature because their work was always so distinguishable that you didn't even know who. You didn't need to know who drew it because you could tell by the style. And yeah, I mean the earlier issues weren't amongst the greatest, but as the issues rolled by, that they became better. So that's the first volume of the Weird Fantasy. Now, by the second volume, we had more Wally Wood. He became a mainstay. That's an example. Oh, sorry, that's Feldstein again. His covers are actually better than his interior artwork. But along the line, I'll try and find an example for you. Yeah, we had Wally Wood, whose art style was totally different. It was cleaner and just generally more pleasing to the eye, you know. Yeah, I mean, they're not easy for me to show you in this size, but I'll do my best. And I don't think Al Williamson had sort of come quite into the picture yet. But as you can see, there's another nice example of some Wally Wood artwork there. But as I say, his work was particularly distinguishable. So that was the second volume. Right there. Okay, and then I think it was by the third volume, maybe, we had some, again, Feldstein they show the Feldstein covers in that particular volume, number 3. But I think by round about here, I can't remember if Williamson started. They did a nice Ray Bradbury story there. There will come soft rains. I mean, there was some quality stories as well as quality artwork. That again was Wally Wood. I'm just seeing if I can spot an Al Williamson, because he was one of my particular favourite artists. Maybe, I think that might be him. Yeah, there we go. Al Williamson. He had a very nice style. His lines were always clean, and his inking was never sort of like obtrusive, if you like. And it's not one of the better examples, I would say, of his work, but a lot of his characters in his stories look like Flash Gordon. He must have been a big Flash Gordon fan, because they all look like Buster Crabbe, who of course played Flash Gordon in the 40s, I think it was, in the serials. So a lot of his this particular one doesn't seem to have, but yeah, let's say some really nice artwork there. And as I say, he became more prominent towards the back end of this particular run. Yeah, I think that's that's him again. You can see, you start to see the resemblance of some of the characters to Flash Gordon and Buster Crabbe. Although later on they're more pronounced. You think it was a Flash Gordon story. But I mean, there were some other artists, Jack Orlando, Jack Kamen, but none of them had the fan following that Wood and Williamson had at that particular time. Although there's a nice looking strip by Joe Orlando there, who did some work for DC, and later on very clean again, like Williamson. And then that was the third volume. I must admit they did very nice covers. I mean, here's a lovely one. That's our Williamson with a Frazetta inking. You can tell the Frazetta influence there, can't you? I mean, that's a lovely cover. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. That looks like Wally Wood to me, but there's no signature on it. But again, there's a Ray Bradbury story in there, and so volume 4, we've got these all had the original covers to the stories as well, the original colour covers. They just changed the artwork to black and white, I presume because of the cost, something to do with the cost of here we are, artist of the issue, Williamson. I presume the cost of producing full colour books were sky high, so they decided to go with black and white, which, as I say, I think was a good choice, personally. Right, so here we have, just trying to find the full resemblance to Flash Gordon hasn't sort of emerged yet, but there's more Williamson there. Now this particular volume, let's see if there's anything else that springs out. So a lot of the artists were, here we go. That's some more Al Williamson. I mean, there's some lovely work on that page. Reminds me a bit of Bernie Wrightson, actually, some of his stuff. So just some lovely clean artwork with beautiful background, as you can see there. Now this is the last volume, and it's particularly interesting in as much as the very last issue, or is it the Weird Science? Yeah, sorry, it's the ones I'm going to show you next. forget everything I just said. Yeah, so that is the final final book in that particular bunch. Now, it's always been a source of great annoyance to me that the Weird Sciences, which I'm going to show you now, I actually bought without the slipcover. I wish I'd paid more to get the full job, but I must have been skint around the time I bought these, and I decided to go with the books without the slipcover, which they were selling a bit cheaper. The annoying thing is that my local Forbidden Planet actually had a slipcase up on the wall as advertising, and I wanted to buy it and they wouldn't sell it to me. So I was greatly aggrieved at that, but what can you do? So yeah, so running concurrently latterly with Weird Fantasy was Weird Science. I believe that started in about 1950. Oh no, got it the wrong way around. Must have been the Weird Science that started. That was that particular issue was noted as 1950. So maybe I've got my timeline a bit wrong there. But yeah, that's the Weird Science. Al Feldstein again on the covers. So his covers weren't so bad. Just his interior art wasn't overly great, but he did a lot of strips in these earlier issues. I must admit I'm not a big fan of his work either, but the publishers must have liked him because they used him plenty. But nearly all the stories are drawn by him by the look of it. That looks an interesting one there. No artist credited, so who knows? It's annoying actually that they didn't credit all the artists. I mean, there's some lovely artwork, especially the faces on that particular strip. But there's no artist credited, unfortunately, so I'm none the wiser as to who it might have been. I've looked and looked and I can't see a name there. So yeah, that was the early issues of Weird Science. Then I really like these Feldstein covers, I must admit. It's book 2. There we go. Now this looks like a Wally Wood to me, so I changed it up a bit. And in this one, I think we'll find some other artists coming to the fore. I'll show you one or two. That's a Joe Orlando strip artist who I previously mentioned. Quite nice. All of these were what you might call pure science fiction. Some of them were just sort of like straightforward mystery stories, which kind of dressed up as science fiction. Now I recognise him. That looks a bit more like Wally Wood. Yeah, there we go. That's more Wally Wood. I mean, his artwork was normally spot on. I'll find a nice page of his stuff. Yeah. did quite a few of the strips for Weird Science. Doesn't look like Al Williamson emerged. There was another artist that I'm not so keen on. I used a bit with an artist called Jack Kamen. I mean, that doesn't look very science fiction-y at all, does it? But there you go. What have we got here? Right, that looks like yeah, there's more. Nice Wally-Wood there, nice splash page. Really, really, really great artist, Wally-Wood. He did a lot of work later on for various companies, but yeah, he was the mainstay of this middle order of Weird Science. Just trying to find, yeah, there he is again. Another nice splash page he did. Yeah, just excellent stuff. I don't think we've got anything more of interest. Yeah, I mean, it looks like they used Wally-Wood for most of the strips during this particular run. Yeah, so that's all Wally-Wood. I think we've seen quite a bit of Wally-Wood. That was the second volume, and this is the third volume. We've got, I'm not sure, I think that's Wally-Wood. And a very nice Wally-Wood on the back. I'll just whip through these a bit quicker because the time runs on. Right, here we go with more Wally-Wood. Right. They did a lot of Ray Bradbury adaptations. Right, now here's what I mean about Al Williamson moving towards the Flash Gordon type of character. There's a good example. You've got a definite Flash Gordon vibe there, haven't you? And it became even more, as I say, more pronounced as the issues went on. And I've seen examples of his other work from Marvel. Well, that's a good example. You can't be much more Flash Gordon than that, can you? But yeah. So, as I say, basically just Kamen, Wally-Wood, and Al Williamson. Let's see if there's anything of great note. I think it looks outstanding. That's a nice splash page. An advert for some of the other horror books, which caused all the fuss. And yeah, I think that's all we need to worry about with volume 3. Now this is the one that I was talking about last time that I got completely wrong. There's a little editorial on the back here. Or am I dreaming? Oh man, I apologise for this, I must be dreaming. I saw it on a flick through of these, and now I I can't find it again, but basically it was just a little editorial saying that, is that it there? No. Just a little editorial saying that they were moving away from, because of escalating costs, they were moving away from 10-cent comics, and what do they think? They were asking for readers' opinions about what do they think if they came back with another book that was 15 cents. Well, obviously, opinion must have been okay, because they came up with 2 volumes, one weird science fantasy and then one incredible science fiction. This is the slipcover for it. And there's your good old Frank Frazetta. Now, although that shows 10 cents, it's a bit of a giveaway because they actually moved back to 10 cents, so there must have been some sort of backlash. But yeah, so weird science fantasy began, as you can see, with 15 cents, with a nice Wally Wood cover on the front and a nice Al Williamson on the back. And this, I think, was published about a year, well, not quite a year later, 1954. So there wasn't too much of a hiatus between the 10-cent books and the first of the 15 cents. It's basically, even though the title changed, it's basically more of the same. There's some a strip about the famous flying saucer epidemic of the late 1940s. So that one's a bit different, but I mean, by and large, as you can see there, they try to change it up a bit with some stuff that wasn't fiction, if you like, but by and large you've got the same crew. Just trying to find Al Williamson still at it with his Flash Gordon there. And I think Frank Frazetta started to come to the fore, but of course, unfortunately, these only lasted less than a year, I think, before the great implosion. So yeah, that was basically more of the same. And then, for some reason, they went back to 10 cents, and the title changed to Incredible Science Fiction. So what do we have there? Jack Davis, yeah, he was one of the big artists for the horror stories. And then we have a Wally Wood. And this one didn't last very much at all. There's only 3 or 4 issues in there, and as I say, we went up to 1955, and that's when it all went boom. I mean, that looks like Frank Frazetta, but it isn't. So I don't know whether people had started copying Frank Frazetta back even then. I'm just trying to find an example of Frazetta. Maybe he didn't do as much as I thought he had, but certainly he started to come to the fore with some inking on covers and what have you. So yeah, I mean, basically not much has changed with regard to art and artists. So that was it for the science fiction titles. Okay, well that was something a bit different. I hope you enjoyed that. Still on the science fiction theme. I'm running out of time, so what remains for me to say is thank you very much for watching as you do, and subscribing as you do. I'd like to hear from you more often, but until next time, bye-bye now.